Recording. Boom. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go over a little bit more market commentating. I find it quite fun. And we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, the volatility index. Ethereum, again, is one of our favorite market indicators. And I'm going to be actually taking a look at Federal Reserve's Jay Powell talking about their use of the tools in the toolkit to help ease any of the monetary problems that we might be running into. And again, I think the reason why this is important is because they're one of the biggest comp operators in the global sector at large. And from what we see, they've got a lot of firing power, and it can actually go quite a ways. So we start off by taking a look at Bitcoin on the daily. And I think doing it on the daily as well as looking at it on the daily is going to be helpful for two reasons. Number one, we've talked about this before, and we'll just repeat ourselves because repetition is a great, strong builder of routine. These accumulation phases take a long time. Let's take Bitcoin, for example. If we look back in Bitcoin's history, we haven't done this for a while. If we look back here and we see this nice big, this change here. So let's, now knowing what we know, we can look at Bitcoin and we can see to ourselves, okay, you've got your selling climax, automatic rally. Oh, this whole thing was like a spring, like it was like a test almost all the way along the bottom. But it's actually pretty clear here that this is probably the spring, this ultimate test down. So here's our buying climax, distribution, primary support, automatic rally, secondary test. Ooh, secondary test in the middle of 2015. Nobody believes in internet money yet. Doesn't matter. And then the spring down. Our first backup phase, an LPS, and then SOSs, and more LPSs and SOSs, continually having higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low, right? Change of character. So, in the importance of making an assessment of where we are, it's good to remember how much time this takes. Because again, here we go from primary support to backup phase, 964 days. Well, see, this is one of the problems with Bitcoin right now. Not a problem, just a time thing. We are approximately only 632 days into this accumulation area. So when everyone gets excited, they're like, yeah, Bitcoin's going to $100,000. Bitcoin's going to the moon. It's going to less than the moon. It's so helpful and more accessible to understand the length of the time frame it takes, right? Because we could see, again, a big SOS phase and then a breakdown all the way back to the original regression line, multiple year regression line here very well before we see a much bigger backup phase. So even though Bitcoins are kind of our market alpha, the important part of not only recognizing where are you in the story, understanding how long it takes is then you can do a comparative analysis. Well, we saw Bitcoin down at a 900-day accumulation period before it broke out. Well, what's Ethereum been doing? Well, since the primary support back in September 11th, 2018 to where we are today, that's almost 741 days, a little bit over 2 years, right? When we're looking at these big accumulation times, when CompMan starts to move out of the box, there's no supply left, right? So we'd see a massive chunk of support around $250. So we could make the argument that, yeah, everything's going to get crazy. The world goes into chaos. We come down to $250, right? And then go through our backup, a change of character into our backup phase. But that's not a whole lot of room for downside. Think about the people that are interested in shorting right now. You're talking about 30% room for downside. Okay, well, maybe it's time sensitive, right? You can go down 30% down for 124 days, followed by another 180 days by upswing, probably by a big chunk, about 180 days. We won't use the percentage, but just think about time for now, maybe not percentage growth, just time. So 800 days to accumulate, and from the spring to where we are now, about 180 days. It usually seems to be some type of derivative of the original time of accumulation that we see these backup phases take place. So the assumption that we could see a backup phase that takes 180 days is actually quite likely. And this very clearly aligns with the new year, after the elections, whatever turmoil that's going to take part in the marketplace. Everything looks a little weak right now. It's going to go through a slight correction, but they're just going to keep printing. And we'll go over that at the end of this video. We'll show Jay Powell saying they're going to just keep printing. So it's extremely important to Pay attention to those comp men, because they've got a lot of capital. In fact, almost an infinite amount of it. What they can do in terms of lending, interest rates, and changes, etc. They've got the monetary controls in their hands. This technically bodes well for us, right? Because if they just let everything collapse, well, then every asset's going to go straight into the ground. Because deflation should be actually taking over at a massive pace right now, and it's not. They're actually having troubles keeping the deflation or the inflation going at 2% because of how drastic of a change this is right now. We should be entering massive deflation, and they're printing like maniacs, so we're not even seeing the inflation come because of how powerful the deflation actually is. So when you're getting accustomed to the 2-year story, you want to get into studying and researching. We went over this into the private group today, and I wanted to chat about it again. Was just when you've got so much time in your hands, you want to be researching and studying. So again, I stand by my original thesis here that once we started to break down, we're going to be looking more than a percentage down idea, which again, pretty clear at 250. We have a lot of support from previous years, but it's a time thing. We see that, okay, so let's assume then CompMan probably has Ethereum 2.0 ready right like around here, right? On the way up and out. Probably the second bar around $400. Boom, Ethereum 2.0 is ready. Part of another big move out of the DeFi sector is Ethereum scaling, right? Makes a big difference. Or these other layer 2 solutions that are out there. So we want to always keep an eye on the macro, but know that the macro that we're interested in is the tech side of things. It's the most important part of this sector to be aware of aside from the monetary aspect. So right now we're charting money. We're basically data analyzing where all the big whales are. So they're obviously moving into Ethereum. There's a clear market indicator. We're just at the very beginning of a bull market. The entire community really hasn't recognized that we're in a bull market yet, but it started in March. It started in the height of the pandemic. It started in the spring, effectively. And that's where they start quite frequently. And then again, 180 days up from the spring to where we are now. So likely about 180 days through the backup phase and to reaccumulate. So this is a perfect time to do your homework, study, take into account the length of time we have here. And I want to take a quick look at BAT as well, because it pushed below our regression line. And part of this question, I'm going to use loop ring as an example here. See how we've broken below this regression line, but there's even a further one that comes back from the original selling climax effectively, could bring us down to the top of the box. We've seen something similar to this in loop ring. So we went over, I just kind of wanted to reiterate because it's easier to do this, so everyone understands. But here we have your spring, your SOS and your backup phase. And notice how the backup phase actually broke below the regression line on loop ring before. Look what loop ring did, right? Explosive out of the box pricing. So you're talking about from the top of the SOS to the bottom around 50 to 60 days and through the regression channel, right? So now we're looking at BAT through the regression channel at 30 days. So maybe another 30, 40, 50, 60 days before a turnaround. And this matches the rest of our thesis, which is that there's going to be volatility in this ecosystem. So here's the VIX, right? This is our measure of human emotion through human nature and basically the volatility of our entire sector, because we exist in a volatile sector. We're a part of the Black Swan Club. We like the massive asymmetrical bets that have infinite room for upside and only limited by the downside by what we put into each of our investments effectively. It's a great way to play. I think it's actually much safer because you know what you're dealing with in terms of volatility as in comparison with like the average blue stock, chip stocks or whatever. So because we're interested in the volatility here, this downside momentum is really just a lesson in time. It's a lesson to be able to make it through the time and continue to invest, to continue to build a portfolio. In the later episodes, we're going to be going over and doing a DeFi for Dummies series because I'm the dummy here. We're going to have a good friend of ours and Bear family member, Chris, give us a hand. He knows a lot about this tech and can help us kind of navigate through successfully because I think this entire sector is going to be huge. You're talking about bonds, loans, lending, interest payments, liquidity pools. It's as big, if not maybe even bigger than Bitcoin because the financial sector needs all the moving parts if we're going to replace it with something better. So because of that, We know that we need to be moving into a more macro perspective with the technology, so we're bringing Chris on board to really help digest how much and how quickly this is happening, how fast this landscape is changing, because a lot of the big money here hasn't caught on yet. I'm talking about billions of dollars in DeFi only. It's hardly anything yet, when these could be $1 trillion industries 2 decades from now. So when we're looking, you need to make a clear distinction between the realization that we're witnessing accumulation of supply and demand, but we're also witnessing the birth of new technology. So here's something like Link, in a fairly obvious distribution phase right now. And here's you can look back to previous regression lines, your original backup, look how beautiful this reaccumulation phase was too. Reaccumulation with a spring downwards. We've looked at this one before. Backup, LPS. SOS, LPS, higher highs, higher lows, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then this final big breakout. And look at these multiple layers of regression channels as we got into higher and higher levels of parabolic movement. It's likely we're coming down to the bottom of here, at least, if not even to this lower regression line. Now, so part of it's going to be well, how big of a market indicator are the rest of some of these? Chainlink's been going up for a while, right? It hasn't seen a large distribution and then reaccumulation period. If you look in the background here, we had most of our buying volume actually come in at the latest of 2019. So that's important, because that means none of these big whales have been accumulating since 2019. We've had this massive price run up with nothing but fish and retail traders. Mike Portney buying at the top. Whatever stupid Morgan Creek guy buying at the top. Like, how come? I thought you managed to fund, guys. What do you mean you're buying at the top? I'm just going to buy more. What? Why? Why would you do that? Shows so crazy. I mean, I don't manage a big fund or anything, but they seem to be doing the wrong things. And anyways, sure, buy at the top. Why not? Buy high, sell higher. Yeah, that's the mantra too, I guess. Not one I think is that wise to follow. But nonetheless, I think it's important to recognize that the reason why Chainlink has done so well is because it's a market dominator. It might not come down this low. It might only come to here and bounce off this regression line again. I'm not sure. But what we're trying to do with market analysis is find out and let the market show us at the places where it turns around. So far, Chainlink is showing no sign of consolidation into an accumulation area. Until it does, I'm not interested in it. Other than a short there would have been a nice, smart play. Where when Mike Portney was buying, you would have wanted to be shorting, right? He went the wrong direction, effectively. That was kind of like the hip hop type hype top of the market, effectively. Funny to see, I guess. But nonetheless, the reason why that happens is because even the best don't recognize how simple this game is sometimes. They didn't think to themselves, well, look back here. Here's your accumulation area, clear, beautiful accumulation box, backup phase, hypodermic tops, and then breakdown. Well, how much longer does that take? It might take 800 days longer for Chainlink to really get a price movement. You could see a bunch of the profits from Chainlink move into Bitcoin, move into Ethereum, move into the rest of the DeFi sector, because this is what always happens. Large market interests accumulate, 600 days of accumulation, followed by 400-500 days of bull market cycle, and then likely another 300 to 600 days of downside, another 300 to 600 days of accumulation afterwards into 2021, 2023, and then another big bull market cycle for Chainlink. Now, it could actually happen a little higher. We could see the accumulation here at this range instead. But either way, what we want to do is let the market show us and pay attention to it as it happens instead of try to front run it and guess it. So I'm not picking up Chainlink here. I know some of you had asked what my thoughts were on it. Looks clearly to be in distribution to me. And we've got a few big layers left of resistance to get to before we get to the bottom aggregation line of our POC, and even lower again. And so it's we're going to be in for some big changes, but this is going to rebalance the market. So again, what's nice here is because these things are so volatile, you can just limit your cap and think long term. Keep investing, right? If you're new to this sector, just keep making small entries where you're not worried about the money that you lose, but it keeps your attention the more you put in. And when you see and recognize where you are in these market cycles, you can make significantly more intelligent decisions because you're not getting told that Ethereum's going to $1,000 here, and you're thinking that you're going to do really well, and you put your life savings into Ethereum, but you need it to spend it over here because now you've lost money because you bought up here or something actually instead. So you need to change your mindset to think long term here. And once you do, this space becomes so much easier to play in. And for me, I love that I can just show up on a daily basis and consistently try to share kind of antithesis to all the hype, which is that, yeah, I'm really a huge believer in this technology. I think it's fantastic. It's amazing. I'm still here because of how cool this technology is, not just the money. That's a positive side effect, but more importantly, the reason why I wanted to chart this stuff is because I wanted to prove that you could see consciousness, or at least in this case, human nature in a market cycle, and this is what it looks like. This is how you can become more effective with your investment strategies, is by knowing human nature underlies everything that goes on in the market cycle. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. DeFi for Dummies, we're going to be getting to that soon, so don't worry. I want to thank you guys all for joining us. To all the private bear members, thank you guys. I really appreciate that. The support has been amazing. For anyone that's new that wants to sign up, you're welcome to. The links are down below. We're going to be adding more features, again, like this kind of DeFi section, as well as some educational videos around that, and hopefully even some write-ups about some of the new companies we'll be looking into, trying to make early entries into a small limited cap, like fuck you money kind of thing, where I don't really care, and I don't have to mark my video swearing. Damn it, Tio. Okay, well, that's okay. I won't worry too much, but because of that, I want to share that there are two different things going on here. With Wyckoff, we're charting something that has not changed in hundreds of years and probably won't either. Human nature. But we're also on the cutting edge of new technology. And that's the macro we want to stay focused on. So we're going to be actually using our microscopes to zoom in on that, get some more developers, and try to create some of the stuff, to try to create some NFTs. So I'm going to be auctioning off an art piece to help raise money for a charity idea that I think is kind of cool. So kind of fun, but we'll go over that once we do. But anyways, it'll be a way that we can raise money, and then we can lend it out to entrepreneurs all around the world. That's kind of like the rough sketch. So I'll be working, me specifically, I'll be working to try to bring this echo throughout everything in this sector. It's what's fascinated me about this space, is what this technology can do at scale. So I look forward to that. And if any of you are interested, we're going to be auctioning off an NFT. So if you happen to have NFT experience, or you know the guys that work at Nifty Gateway, or you think that there's a company that we should be working with over another, because I'm really new to all the NFT stuff, you'd let me know. Play around. We've been playing around in the background, but I think it's going to be a fun little social experiment as well. And I'll paint a painting. I'll do my original paint burning token burn, and I'll burn the original painting. So it'll be kind of fun. I've got something fun planned out of that. So stick around. And for all of you that have stuck around, I really appreciate it, because this has been such an open forum for me to share my own growth and understanding of market cycles and psychology, even from the scientific to the abstract. You guys that have supported me for so long have supported me through all the things that I bring to the table when we make videos about going mushroom hunting, or when I make videos talking about creativity. You guys have always supported that. And for those core members who have remained and will continue hopefully to support us for as long as we do the Arcane Bear, I'm very grateful for that, because there's a few things I had in mind when I started this. Communicate value. It was one of the main mission statements. But one of the things I've been working on in the background that I've been so heart focused on is changing the way we do charity and rebuilding it with models that successfully give without needing to be donation based. And I think this technology offers us that. So I hadn't talked about it much the last few years, because it was a soft spot for me, and I don't want to talk too much about stuff that I've been failing at it, because it's not, you got to market fit and timing, and it's not easy. But I'm really passionate about it. So I thank you guys for that, because for me, the mission driven purpose of the Arcane Bear was, okay, communicate value, but also know that, because I've managed search engine optimization companies, and we've done pay-per-view click advertisements. We were making massive amounts of capital with the companies we were working with, that we could build something that inevitably had a community around it, where every month we could make our marketing budgets go to do good in the world. So now that we're hitting those levels where we have that room to breathe, that's how we want to play with our marketing budgets as well. So, we'll start to give away more money on Twitter. We'll start to give away more like Bitcoin in the private group. We'll start to give away, or we'll try to do these like one-of-a-kind art pieces and for Kiva and charity. So my goal has always been to be very collaborative at what I think is the forefront of social good and business development, and the way that that marriage of those things come together. And now, because of the tech fits these sectors, it's like a triage between the three of them: social good, business, and the technology aspect, which gives us some very unique capabilities. I'm stoked because I think there's so much room for growth in these sectors that it just means, okay, well, let's try building some fun things. So I'll probably mint an Arcane Bear token where I'll just give it to you guys. And you can use it for cheaper memberships or something like this. You won't be able to buy it, but you'll be able to give it away, and we'll figure it out. But it'll just be like, okay, if here I saw you guys made a great post, or I see you guys have been sharing a bunch. So let's be basically like collector's items, effectively, right? They're not supposed to have any real value. They somehow end up getting valued, and you'll be able to use them for something valuable by getting discounts in the community. Because we've raised our prices, we'll be like, okay, well, for every Arcane Bear token you have, you can get a discounted membership or something like this. So I want to experiment with more of these circular economies, and a big part of the conversation is also about the legalities of how that gets done. And I've been a fairly professional entrepreneur my whole life, so the paperwork, and are we doing these things by the book to play so that no one gets in trouble? It's always such an awkward conversation. So even though the intent is to build these things and do good in the world, we're always at a point of control where human nature again is the important part. So I keep showing up, and I'm happy that the Arcane Bear is at the size now where we can grow and develop more of the product aspect of the Arcane Bear community, deeper dive newsletters into the DeFi sector, and more what's going on, just even for my own understanding, because as one individual, I can only do so much. So now that we've kind of had our first SOS for the Arcane Bear, and we're going to see a bull market cycle, probably about 180 days from now, really start to kick in. I'm just preparing in the background for what that looks like and how we can grow and build this community even further, and the collaborations that we can help instigate with other members of the community, because there's so many great people here. I want to, we'll do this as a moment as like a shout out. I want to give a shout out to CryptoLark for being one of the greatest people in the crypto sector. It's so genuine. I had so much fun. To Data Dash and Nicholas Merton. What a great cat as well. Box Mining. You've got Jeff Kadurkis. All these people that I've been able to meet. All the Bear family, the Kodiaks, like Leanne and Jerry. To all the people that are a part of this community that are excited, not just because of the potential of making money, but the real world-changing effects that some of this can have when we work together and we collaborate on building something together. Anyways, I know the last 5 minutes, this was totally ranty, but I want to share with you guys and get a little sentimental, because life's changed, and the pandemic is putting us into, we have to get more accustomed to building our serendipity and our community with our online avatars, because it's just going to become more frequent that it's easier to do that. It's cheaper to do that. It's better for the environment if we're not always getting on planes and traveling around the world for no reason. It's better if we have less of an impact on everything that we do. And I think this is a really big wake-up call for everyone that, hey, look, we can do things differently, and we need to, not just for our own space of mind, but so that we can effectively do better, I guess. And this feels like a real opportunity still. It still feels like a real opportunity to come together through the chaos and the crisis, and to collaborate. So anyways, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. To the Arcane Bear. Subscribe, leave us your comments, whatever you would like down below. Again, so grateful that I have the space to share and communicate value and scale the community to the point where now we can go out and start to use our budgets for doing good in the world. So thank you guys. I can't express how fantastic this is, from just an idea a few years ago in 2016 of, I want to do podcasts, I like videos, and I just want to talk to people and tell them that I like Bitcoin and DMT and mushrooms and play music. It works. So thank you for letting me have that opportunity to share on like a platform and a space. I love you guys. Steve with the Arcane Bear. I'm signing off for the rest of the day. Wait, hold on. We got a logo too. Yeah, brand logo time.